Hello everyone! It has been quite some time since we've done one of these kinds of videos. I mean, the last one I did on this channel was 4 months ago, and the last one I did, period, was 2 months ago. Needless to say, a lot has happened in that time span, and there's a lot of stuff for me to talk about. So, where should we get started? Well, let's go ahead and start off with the Marvel stuff, because I have missed a lot of Marvel stuff. Obviously, when it comes to Marvel, a lot, and I mean a lot, has happened since the last discussion I did, which was on Far From Home. After I saw Far From Home, made a video. I talked about my thoughts on Far From Home, what I thought of the movie, potential future of Spider-Man in the MCU after the cliffhanger, and needless to say, that video did not age well. It did not age well at all. Because fast forward to, what was it, like August 20th, I think, was when it happened, is when the news broke that Spider-Man was leaving the MCU as Disney and Sony did not reach an agreement. And it was a whole back and forth. It was like, at first everyone blamed Sony, because why wouldn't we? Because it's Sony. Sony has made so many bad decisions, not just when it comes to Spider-Man, but just in general with, Men in Black International and infamously Ghostbusters. So, and of course, Spider-Man, obviously. They've made tons and tons and tons of mistakes. They did Spider-Verse right. They nailed Spider-Verse. But that wasn't really Sony. That was more so Chris. That was more so Phil and Chris Miller, and less so Sony proper. But still. They nailed Spider-Verse. But everything else has been a train wreck for a long time. So needless to say, when the news broke, people were not happy, to put it PG-13. Well, yeah, we'll just say that. And of course, a massive outcry ensued to, hey, Sony, stop being, I don't know what the right word is, but you know what I mean. Everyone was just ramming Sony hardcore. And then it turns out that something came out where apparently it was actually Disney's fault. But people still kept saying Sony because they didn't know about the Disney thing or whatever. And it became a back and forth where it's Sony, it's Disney, it's Sony, it's Disney, it's Sony, it's Disney. And as of right now, as of September 2019, the latest report we have is it's Sony's fault. The reason why? Because the last deal that they tried to work out, Sony didn't come back. Disney offered them a deal, and then Sony said no, and they didn't come back. They didn't even try, they didn't propose anything, they didn't even reject it, they just stopped. Or something along those lines. I know I'm not being super specific, and obviously there's been a lot has happened, and there's other videos you can find out there that go into this whole scenario much more deep than I'd ever be able to do in a reasonable time frame. But bottom line is, it's both of their faults, but right now, the main one is Sony. It's both of their faults, but the main one is Sony as of right now, because Sony is the one that's not trying to pursue anything. And that really isn't that surprising, because it's obvious that Sony wanted to take Spider-Man back so they could put him in the Venomverse, or to be even more specific, the SUMPC. Okay, that's a bad acronym. No one uses that acronym. I'm just making that up. No. The official name for Sony's thing they're trying to build is Sony's Universe of Marvel Characters. That's the official name of Sony's Spider-Man universe, which, by the way, does not include Spider-Verse and all the the Spider-Verse sequel and the Spider-Verse female spin-off that's in development. None of those count. Spider-Verse does not count because that's animated. And that's one of the reasons why all the people that are like, oh, wait, no, what are you talking about? Sony can make a great Spider-Man movie. Look at Spider-Verse. Oh, yeah, absolutely. But there's one thing you're missing. The team that makes the animated movies is not the same team that makes the live-action movies. Now, if they gave Chris and Lord Miller, I think I might have said Phil and Chris, whatever, you know who I'm talking about. I'm screwing up their names really bad right now, but you know who I'm talking about. If they were put on the live-action films, then absolutely. I mean, I still don't want to see them leave the MCU, but at least we could rest knowing that, hey, we're still going to get some good movies. But the problem is, that's not how it's going to work. No, the live-action team is going to be Avi Arad and Tom Rothman and all that stuff, and we're going to get the same exact problem we had last time. And the time before that. It's like, yeah, so no matter what, it's not going to end well for Sony. It's not going to. People are not going to watch those movies. And here's the thing. Boycott culture, or as some people, actually, that's not really a thing, though. People have talked about recently about, cancel culture and stuff like that. And I'm not really going to get into that mess. I'm not going to really talk about that too much. I'm just going to talk about that basic idea as it would apply to this scenario. If we're going under the idea that cancer culture, oh man, that's bad right there. Cancer culture, cancel culture. There we go. Okay, I don't want to use that term because I know it's too politically charged for a discussion like this, and I want to keep that stuff out of these videos as much as I can. But anyway. But I guess my point is people are not going to see the Sony live-action movies because people don't want to see Spider-Man outside of the MCU, outside of Spider-Verse. But remember, Spider-Verse is different. Spider-Verse is animated. It doesn't follow the same rules as the live-action movies. In fact, Spider-Verse doesn't count towards the contract that they have between Sony and Marvel. The contract that they have between Sony and Marvel is, I believe, Sony has to release a new Spider-Man movie within like 5 years, and it has to be shooting within like 2.5 years or something like that. Again, I don't know all the specifics, but that's the general gist from what I remember. And that only applies to the live-action films, by the way. Even though Sony owns the movie rights entirely, that, like, the schedule they have to keep the rights only applies to the live-action movies. So no, Sony can't just make Spider-Verse. If they just made Spider-Verse and then live-action Spider-Man was still in the MCU, I would be all for that. But of course that's not going to happen because Sony desperately is trying to save their studio division. Because for those of you who don't know, it's kind of been known for years that Sony Pictures, aka Columbia, they're the same thing. Well, just Sony Pictures in general, I guess, because there's Columbia, there's TriStar, and they're all under the Sony umbrella. So we'll just call it Sony Pictures, since that's like what Sony calls their entire film division. It's just Sony Pictures. Sony Pictures has been losing money for years, and there's even been talks about potentially selling it to someone else. And no, I'm not saying that Disney should buy Sony just so they can get the rights back. They don't need to do that. All they need to do is buy the rights. Because Disney has no reason to buy Sony outside of Spider-Man. And let's be real here, I don't think anyone wants Disney to get any bigger. There's already been enough complaints about, Disney being a quote-unquote monopoly, although I don't think they're quite a monopoly just yet. They're close. They're close. They are right on the edge. If being a monopoly was 100%, I would say they're like 90% of the way there. If they buy Sony, then they're a monopoly. If they buy Universal, then they are a monopoly. If they buy Warner Bros., then they are a monopoly. But they don't own enough yet for me to conclusively say they are a full-on monopoly just yet. They're close though. But the main point is this. They're not going to buy Sony just for Spider-Man. And I know a lot of people out there would love to see them buy Sony just to get the rights back, but they're not going to do that. They didn't even buy Fox to get the X-Men rights back. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, no, Disney did not buy Fox just so they could get the rights to X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Deadpool back. They bought Fox for the content library so they could put it on their streaming services. That's the main reason they bought them, for the content portfolio. The X-Men, the Marvel rights, were a bonus. They were a bonus, not the main reason why they were bought. Why would Disney buy Sony, especially when they just spent like $60 billion or whatever buying Fox? Do you really think they're gonna throw money out the window that quick? So yeah, I know I'm kind of dragging this part out, but I just kind of want to really emphasize that. They're not gonna buy Sony. Okay, sorry, I should rephrase that. They're not gonna buy Sony Pictures. I think I already said this, but yeah, when people talk about them buying Sony, we're not saying all of Sony. We're just saying the movie division. No, they do not need to own PlayStation. Everyone is universally against them owning PlayStation. But you get my point. You know, Disney doesn't care about PlayStation or the TVs or the Walkmans. I think they still make Walkmans, but you know what I mean? Like, they just care about the Spider-Man rights. That's the only thing that Sony has that they care about. But I guess long story short, as of September 5th, I don't remember if it was Tom Rothman or if it was someone else at Sony, but they said that as of right now, the rights, like the deal is officially closed. For now. They did say for now. It's totally possible that in like 6 months they'll pull a James Gunn and out of nowhere we'll be like, hey, we got the deal back, and now he's back in the MCU, and it's like nothing ever happened. Because that's the main thing, is this whole thing has happened before, right? James Gunn was fired. Everyone was universally against it, including the cast and especially Dave Bautista. Eventually, Disney caved and they brought him back. Disney and Sony can't reach an agreement with Spider-Man. Universal backlash. You know, like in 6 months, be prepared to see that article pop up. That's like Disney and Sony finally reach sharing deal with Sony. You know, like it's gonna happen, and that's the reason why I'm not that worried about this whole situation, because I know in the end they're gonna work it out. Disney and Sony are gonna work it out. We're gonna get the rights back, and everyone will be able to live happily ever after. Mark my words, we will have confirmation that he is returning within 6 months. Because, like, within 6 months, we will know. In fact, let's be a little more specific. We will know, he will be back in the MCU before Black Widow comes out. He will be back in the MCU before Black Widow comes out. That's my prediction right there. So yeah, I guess the bottom line is this. He's not in the MCU as of right now, but I guarantee you it won't be long until he returns. I guarantee you they'll figure everything out and everything will be good. So, since Spider-Man's not in the MCU as of right now, what is there to look forward to in the MCU right now? Well, let's go ahead and talk about Phase 4. And we actually know a lot about Phase 4. In fact, Phase 4 is actually pretty stacked right now. But the thing is that Phase 4 has actually been kind of controversial for several reasons. One, no Avengers movie, no big team-up movie, no big movie no big build-up movie, no one that everyone's gonna be rushing out to see. And well, I totally understand that. You guys should have seen this one coming, because let's be real here. After Endgame, Marvel is going to have to spend a long time building up to something anywhere near as big as that. They're basically, think of it almost as like a soft reboot, where obviously everything is still connected and everything, but in a way where it's like, well, now the big build-up climax movie is going to get pushed off for like 10 years or whatever. And now they're going to be building up new characters and continuing existing characters. But, it's not going to be... There's not going to be an Avengers team-up movie. Although, Feige did say a new Avengers movie will be coming eventually. Which, no duh. But I guess my main point is, it's not surprising at all that there isn't one in Phase 4. Because that would kind of diminish the impact of Endgame. If they just did one already. But anyway, let's go ahead and talk about what we have so far for Phase 4. I'm going to go ahead real quickly and bring up a list just to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Okay, let's go in order. Well, actually, I'm not going to be able to go in order, but I'll just tell you everything, okay? So, first things first is Black Widow, a movie that has been rumored for literally forever, and that's finally confirmed. It's coming out on May 1st. Next up is The Eternals, also... Everyone has talked about this forever. It's coming out in November 2020. 2021 has 3 movies. The first is Shang-Chi, again, also rumored for a long time. It'll feature the Mandarin, the real Mandarin, not the one from Iron Man 3, like the real Mandarin, as the full name is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Sorry, I can't talk right now. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. It's going to feature the Mandarin. It's confirmed. Next up is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. It's going to cross over. Scarlet Witch is going to be in it. It's going to be the MCU's first quote-unquote horror movie, according to Scott Derrickson. And a lot of people seem to be hyped for this one. It's probably the second most hyped. Well, actually, it might be the most hyped at the time of recording. But generally speaking, as far as the movies go, the one that most people seem to be excited for is definitely Doctor Strange. And I could definitely see why. And then last but not least is Thor Love and Thunder, which under normal circumstances, this would have without a doubt have been the most hyped movie in the entire phase. But it wasn't, because they decided to do something. Something that a lot of people really didn't like, but at the same time something that a lot of people did like. Basically, it's one of those, super controversial things that no one can really decide on. But basically, this movie is going to feature Jane Foster, played by, once again, Natalie Portman. But it's not just going to be plain old Jane Foster. It's going to be Mighty Thor, which is basically Mighty Thor, from what I can gather, is basically like, it's a newer female version of Thor that's Jane Foster. Like, it's Jane Foster as Thor, and her name is Mighty Thor. And even though Chris Hemsworth is still in the movie, he was still going to be a big part, and of course Loki's going to be there and everything. But the fact that they were pushing hard, the fact that, hey, we're going to have female Thor, or Mighty Thor, sorry, I gotta say Mighty Thor, not female Thor. I don't know why. I just keep saying female Thor because that's just what comes to my mind. But yeah, bottom line is this. Basically, female Thor / Mighty Thor, whatever you want to call her, is going to be a big part of the movie. And a lot of people really didn't like that. And I can't really blame them, because it kind of came out of nowhere. Now, I'm not surprised at all that they want to introduce her. There's nothing wrong with wanting to introduce her, but just kind of throwing her right there front and center put off a lot of people and made people worry that she was going to be like the main focus, as most people didn't want to watch her. They want to see Chris Hemsworth. That's the Thor they want to see, and that's the Thor that everyone wants to see. Well, yeah, that's Thor, right? So they're kind of put off by, hey, why do we have this new female Thor in the middle of nowhere? But so that made people a lot less hyped for the movie than they would have otherwise been because of that. However, recently, actually, I believe it was just a couple days ago, it was confirmed that Chris Hemsworth is indeed the main star of the movie, not the new female Thor, which has made a lot of people very happy. So take that for what you will. So maybe it is now the most hyped movie in the phase so far. But enough about the movies, because actually what's a bigger deal than the movies is the TV shows. This is something that, well, I didn't see coming and no one really saw coming. Marvel is considering the Disney Plus shows as a part of the phase. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of people were kind of put off by this phase, was not only the movies themselves, but more so the fact that the TV shows were included. Because we all knew that, of course, these TV shows on Disney Plus are going to be made by Marvel Studios themselves, by Kevin Feige, by the core teams. Like, they are MCU 100%. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. This isn't like the Netflix shows or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. where they can reference certain things, but they're not really connected. Like, no. This is like real 100% MCU. Which is kind of awkward, because Marvel TV is also making a Disney Plus series. So that's awkward. But we'll talk about the Marvel TV, like the Marvel TV shows, if that makes any sense, later. Let's talk about the Marvel Studios TV shows first. So first up is The Falcon and Winter Soldier. This is going to be premiering in 2020. It's going to be the first one. It's The Falcon and Winter Soldier. Take a wild guess what that show's about. WandaVision is the next one coming 2021. Obviously, Wanda and Vision. Loki, which was the first series that was been rumored for the longest time, 2021, which has a very infamous logo that a lot of people don't like, but that's just how it is. Next up in 2021 again is What If, which is going to be an animated series made by Marvel Studios that shows like alternate, possibilities and realities. Like for example, the first episode I believe is going to be and basically they're going to be based on the first 23 movies, the Infinity Saga, which is kind of awkward because again, as of right now, as of this video, Spider-Man's not in the MCU. But they're going to be making Homecoming and Far From Home What If episodes, which is really weird and awkward. Also, do they even have the rights to do that? Well, as far as I can tell, they do, because What If is animated, and Disney owns the rights to animated Spider-Man, even though this is going to be an MCU series. So that's really weird and awkward, but again, by the time this series premieres in 2021, the deal will be worked out anyway, so it's not a big deal. Hawkeye 2021 as well. Yeah, there's 4 TV shows in 2021, and it's gonna feature Kate Bishop. No shocker there. And then we have 3 more, and all of these are actually pretty surprising. Well, 2 of them are very surprising at the very least. These last 3 were announced at D23, whereas everything I've talked about so far was announced at Comic-Con. But at D23, they announced 3 more shows. There's no release date for them, but they're most likely going to be 2022. First is Ms. Marvel. This has been something that has been talked about for a little while, but not too much. It wasn't like Loki or whatever, where like everyone was talking about it. But Ms. Marvel is a series that actually was rumored right before it was announced, but also, it's been talked about a little bit. I know Brie Larson, I think, commented on like, hey, I'd like to see Kamala Khan in like, a Captain Marvel 2 or something like that. So, hey, Ms. Marvel series, sure, why not? It makes sense, I guess. And I know there's people out there I'd like to see it. I actually don't have any problem with Ms. Marvel. I mean, from the very little I have seen, I actually kind of like the character. But anyway. Now here comes the 2 big ones. First up is Moon Knight, a series that people have been asking for years. On Netflix, on Hulu, on literally any other platform. But nope, it's going to be on Disney+, which has got a lot of people kind of worried, because it's like, oh, wait a second, PG-13 Moon Knight. It's got people worried, right? But from what I've read, actually, I think Moon Knight will be just fine, like just based on what I've seen of the various comic material. But we'll have to wait and see how that goes. But now here comes the biggest one, the one that floored everyone. She-Hulk. I don't think I need to explain why that's such a big deal. Whereas Moon Knight was something that everyone thought would happen on like Netflix or Hulu or something, but ended up being on Disney+. She-Hulk, no one thought that was ever going to happen for an obvious reason. Marvel, Disney, and Universal don't exactly have the best relationship. In fact, they are the reason why we haven't gotten a single new Hulk movie, because Universal still owns the distribution rights. So, how the heck were they able to make She-Hulk? Because She-Hulk, from what I remember, was still locked down at Universal. Well, my guess is, again, kind of like with the whole thing with, Spider-Man in the MCU, but it's animated thing, where basically, She-Hulk, of course, like, all these are live action, except for What If is the only animated show, but all the other ones are live action. My guess is the loophole here is She-Hulk is a TV show, not a movie, and my guess is that Marvel and Disney own the TV rights to her, and that's how they're able to pull it off. That actually might be a smart way to get around rights with other characters as well. Well, at least theoretically it would have. But yeah, so there's that. So yeah, that is all we have for Phase 4 at the moment. Black Widow, Eternals, Shang-Chi, Doctor Strange, Thor Love and Thunder, all the Disney Plus shows, The Falcon and Winter Soldier, WandaVision, Loki, What If, Hawkeye, Ms. Marvel, Moon Knight, and She-Hulk. That is a lot of content. But with 8 TV shows, it's kind of crazy. It makes me wonder how they're even able to pull this off within like a 2-year period? But, so that's going to be kind of interesting. But wait, there's more. Now, even though this isn't a part of Phase 4, they did announce the first movie of Phase 5. Well, actually, no, they announced a couple movies for Phase 5. We haven't gotten logos or anything yet, but we do know a couple Phase 5 movies. The first one that has a logo, and the one that was revealed first was Blade. Blade was finally announced after being talked about for what seemed like forever, and everyone thought Wesley Snipes would come back. Apparently no, it's going to be someone new. Although Wesley Snipes did give his blessing, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a cameo in it. But yeah, Blade is coming. That got a lot of people really hyped. And then at D23, we got a logo for Black Panther 2. It's coming out 2022, and is the first movie of Phase 5 as far as we are aware of. Then we have 3 untitled, well, not untitled, but like 3 with no release date or logo or anything. That is Captain Marvel 2, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and, wait for it, Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four is coming out in Phase 5. It has been confirmed. Basically. Oh, and they also announced plans for the mutants. Now, that got people kind of eerie, because like, oh, wait a second, he called them mutants, not the X-Men. Are they really going to change the name? Because there was this thing going around a while ago about like some higher up at Marvel Studios who's like female that was like, oh, I think the term X-Men is outdated because it's not inclusive enough or whatever, and of course they got people really mad. It's like, it has nothing to do with the gender, it's about like mankind. Like, that's the whole point of X-Men. It's not men in terms of men, it's men in terms of mankind, as in all of us. So it is inclusive. So point is, people got like really mad over that, and people were worried that when Feige said mutants, that meant that the X-Men name was going to be like disposed of. But no, Feige said that's not true, and he just said mutants as a way to encompass everything. Also, Deadpool does count as a part of that thing where he talked about mutants. So when he said mutants, he was talking about everything. The X-Men, Deadpool, all the other teams, like X-Factor, like literally everything. He was just encompassing it all in one easy term. But no, X-Men is not going away. They're not going to just throw that out the window for no reason. And yeah, so that's a lot of stuff right there to look forward to, although it'd be nice to see Spider-Man. And there's a very real chance that you'll see Spider-Man pop up at the end of Phase 4, the beginning of Phase 5, again once all this has been sorted out and figured out. But we'll have to wait and see what happens there. So I guess now let's kind of talk about my thoughts. So actually it's kind of complicated because, okay, Phase 4 by itself, I'm actually more interested in the TV shows than the movies. And that's mainly because most of the TV shows revolve around existing characters that we already have attachment to. Whereas we don't really have any attachment to Shang-Chi or the Eternals. But at the same time, we're getting Doctor Strange, Black Widow, and Thor, so there is that too. But just kind of in general, I feel like I'm more excited for the TV shows than the movies, at least for Phase 4. But of course, the next phase is going to be the big one. We're going to have Black Panther 2, we're going to have Blade, we're going to have Guardians 3, we're going to have Fantastic Four and X-Men. That's going to be the big one right there. And that's kind of how I feel like Phase 4 is kind of like just a building up phase. Kind of like how Phase 2 was, where like Phase 1, the build up was for the Avengers, right? That was the build up for Phase 1, was to get to the Avengers. Phase 2 was technically wasn't really a build up to Ultron. I mean, it kind of was, but not really. I kind of feel like Phase 2 was just kind of like just building up, like, you know, certain characters and characteristics. And then, of course, it all culminated in Endgame, and you know, Infinity War and Endgame. So I think of Phase 4 kind of like as a kind of a stopgap phase. That's probably why it's only two. It's probably why it's only 2 years long, because it's kind of like a stopgap phase, and all the really, really big stuff is going to be in Phase 5, like Guardians 3 and Black Panther 2. And Blade, and Fantastic Four, and X-Men, and probably the next Avengers movie. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. So yeah, needless to say, there was a lot to look forward to when it comes to the MCU. Although I have seen a lot of people there kind of like putting the MCU on the back burner for a while. I mean, after Endgame, I can't really blame them. I've seen a lot of people that are just kind of like, obviously I'll like pay attention and stuff, but I'm pretty much done with the MCU after Endgame, and well, that certainly won't be the case for me. I mean, I'm gonna be watching all this stuff day one, but I definitely understand if people don't really have any interest in it. I mean, after something like Endgame, you kind of can't be expected to automatically be super excited for the smaller films and stuff, so. Okay, I'm kind of dragging this part on. So, basically, yeah, that's what's going on with Marvel. So, the Disney-Sony fiasco, which I do think will eventually be resolved, but as of right now, he's not in the MCU. And yeah, Phase 4 and part of Phase 5 have been revealed. We got the cast, we got logos, we got directors, we got release dates, and all kinds of stuff. Unfortunately, none of the new TV shows will be there day one on Disney+. However, we will have movies, but that will depend on the region because of, like, Disney still has some of them tied up with Netflix, so in some regions you might get some movies, but in some you won't. In the US, though, from what I remember, it's going to be Captain Marvel, Infinity War, Thor 1, and The Dark World, but not Ragnarok because of reasons, Iron Man 1 and 3, I think there's like one other one, but like basically it's gonna be a slow build up because of rights. Eventually, all the MCU movies will be on Disney Plus, except for Spider-Man. Okay. So no, that's something right there. That's something right there. I mean, will they? Oh man. Okay, actually, that's a good question right there. Will they even have the rights to do that? Because of course they're owned by Sony. Maybe that'll be a part of the deal. It's like, okay, we can get we'll do a deal if like we can put them on Disney Plus or something. But don't be surprised if they don't end up on there. I mean, Sony doesn't have their own streaming service, but I don't know. I mean, they'll probably be on there eventually, but if they aren't on there, don't be surprised. And yeah, so that's Marvel. I know I kind of rambled on a long time and everything, but that's just kind of what happens when I do one of these. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about Nintendo, shall we? This part's going to be a lot shorter, but well, when I say Nintendo, what I really mean is Smash, because Smash is going to get really interesting. So the most recent Direct was, of course, a couple weeks ago. I did a reaction for it. You can go see it on the channel. It's on this channel, not on the original channel. For those of you who don't know, I've changed how I'm going to be doing these kinds of things. So basically, the stream itself will still be on the main channel, but the archive, the video, will not, or at least not publicly. Instead, I'm going to be making a highlight video that has like the best of. So you'll just see the good stuff, basically. And I throw that on this channel. But in the description of that highlight will be a link to the original stream, but it'll be unlisted. Like, the original stream will be unlisted, but you'll still be able to access it via a link in the description of the highlight video. But basically, yeah, so I have my reaction highlights to the Direct that has, all the Smash stuff, as well as Xenoblade. And you can go watch that right now. But yeah, let's talk about Smash, because that's the big one right here. Smash, right? That's the big one. That's the big one right there. So, first things first. Of course, a couple days before the Direct happened, leaks started to circulate that Terry was going to be the 4th character, and potentially Ryu would be the 5th one. And needless to say, it did not go over well. And that's putting it very lightly. I think that was probably the worst I've ever seen the Smash community be, or at least certain people in the community be, because I mean, it was kind of a nightmare. And there was very much two sides. There were the sides that loved it, and there was the sides that hated it. And when I say hated it, I mean hated it. So, it was not a fun experience. But eventually, it was all for nothing, or at least pretty much. As, of course, when the Direct finally came, two things. One, okay, let's go in order. So, the first time they bring up Smash, of course, they talk about Banjo, because of course, Banjo, when is he going to come out? Is he going to come out at the end of the month? He's going to come out in early October? No, Nintendo said screw all that. He's coming out right now. And everyone immediately rushed to grab their Switches, but of course the update wasn't live yet. But yeah, so Banjo came out right basically after the Direct, or like a couple hours after the Direct. So that was really awesome. That was really hype. And then they revealed the Slash. Now this is kind of interesting because they actually haven't used the Slash in a while. Because I believe none of the DLC characters had the Slash. Joker didn't have the Slash, Hero didn't have the Slash, and Banjo didn't have the Slash in their like reveal trailers. But for some reason, the fourth character did. So that was kind of weird. But, well, actually, I should rephrase that. All of the characters have the Slash, but not in the original video. Like, all of the base characters have the Slash. But the DLC characters... Actually, no. K. Rool, Ridley, like, and all the characters... And, like, K. Rool, Ridley, and Simon had the Slash. Isabelle did not, because, of course, they wanted to use that... Because, like, you know, Isabelle did not have the Slash in her original reveal, as they just transitioned to, like, Animal Crossing footage. And then all of a sudden, the CG comes in, it's like, they want me in Smash, and then it just comes completely out of nowhere. So that one did not have the Slash in the original Direct, but the uploaded trailer after the fact does have it. Ken and Incineroar did have it as well. Like, in their original, they had the Slash, but Isabelle did not. But all of them after the fact did have a Slash, if that makes any sense whatsoever. I'm probably confusing everyone right now. But none of the DLC did. At the Game Awards, there was no Slash. And both Banjo and Hero did not have a Slash either. But this character did. Okay, enough talking about the Slash, let's get to the character. So, for starters, the leak is fake. The leak that said that, oh, it's gonna be Terry and Ryu, and both of their trailers will be based off of existing trailers, the same way that, like, Banjo's trailer was like a remix of K. Rool's trailer. That's fake. Because the trailer was not a reuse of a previous trailer. The leak said that they would reveal, I believe they said they would reveal Terry. It would be like a remix of the Ken and Incineroar trailer, and Ryu would be a remix of the Simon trailer. Well, that did not happen because the trailer immediately starts off with a list of every Nintendo console. Well, every Nintendo console and handheld, from the Switch all the way back to the Game & Watch. And then, it zooms in, it slowly goes up, then it goes down a little bit to the Super Nintendo, and then it goes to the side, and then you see Neo Geo. And of course, in that moment, it's like, okay, there he is, and then it plays, you know, the I'm sorry that you guys had to hear me say that, but yeah, the Neo Geo animation played, and that was really cool. And then of course, they had that really cool recreation of like one of the old King of Fighters games, but it has like the Smash invitation. It was pretty cool. It was a really cool trailer. But basically, yeah, Terry was confirmed, but the leak that said that Ryu would be the last character was deconfirmed. So that's actually a big deal. But that ultimately got swept under the rug, because even if Ryu was the last character, it wouldn't matter, because Nintendo did the same thing they did with Hero. So let's flash back a little bit here. So Hero. When Hero was initially revealed... Well, actually, no. Let's go back before that. So there was rumors of Erdrick possibly coming to Smash, and needless to say, people were mixed on it. It wasn't like Terry levels of hate or anything, but it was mixed. People were very like mixed on it, particularly here in the West. Japan obviously loved it, but here in the West, a lot of people were like, I don't know about that. But the main reason why it was such a big deal was because of E3. People really didn't want him to be the E3 Smash reveal, including myself. I wasn't against him being in the game, I was against him being the sole reveal of E3. And I said, okay, if they're gonna reveal Erdrick at E3, they need to reveal someone alongside him that would make the people in the West happy. And thankfully they did. But they didn't just do that. Actually, Hero was a lot cooler than I thought he would be. A lot of people were just kind of like, oh yay, another sword fighter. But actually, Has a pretty interesting moveset with all the magic moves and stuff. And he has the alternate costumes and stuff. So ultimately, Hero actually turned out pretty good in my opinion. With one blunder. Probably my biggest complaint with the DLC so far. It's not the characters, it's not the moveset, it's not the stage. No, it's the music. And this isn't even Sakurai and Nintendo's fault. It's not even Square's fault, believe it or not. It's actually someone else. So what am I talking about? So, when Hero was added on his stage, that I'm not going to try and pronounce because I'm going to butcher it, there were 8 tracks, which is a lot more than the 2 tracks that people thought we were going to get, because swear, but it came with one big price. We got 8 tracks, but they were all MIDIs, not the proper orchestral versions that were used in the reveal trailer. And needless to say, everyone, including me, did not like that, because the orchestral versions sound way better. Yeah, they sound so much better than the MIDI. Now, there's like one MIDI that sounds pretty decent. I think it's Battle for Glory. It's like the Dragon Quest IV battle theme. That one actually sounds alright. But all of the other ones pale in comparison to the orchestral versions. The orchestral versions are so much better. So why didn't we get the orchestral versions? It wasn't Sakurai or Nintendo or even Square. You wanna know why we didn't get him? Sugiyama. So who's Sugiyama? Well, he's the composer for Dragon Quest. He's been the composer since the original game back in 1986. And he owns all the rights to all the music for every Dragon Quest game ever, not Square Enix. Which means if you want to put Dragon Quest music in your game, you gotta go to him. He's also known for being incredibly stingy and protective of his music. And the fact that, and a good example of this would be the fact that on its original release, the original release of Dragon Quest XI on PS4 and PC did not have the orchestral soundtrack. It had the MIDIs. In fact, someone even made an entire video about it. That if you just search up like Dragon Quest XI music is bad or something like that, and you'll see the video. And just to be clear, the video isn't about the music itself being bad. It's the fact that they used MIDIs instead of the orchestral track. And there is an orchestral track for the entirety of Dragon Quest XI, but it wasn't included in the actual release because Sugiyama. Thankfully, that has been corrected, as the definitive edition on Switch will include the orchestral soundtrack as it should have been in the first place. But at the end of the day, it's not in Smash, so that really sucks. But anyway. Getting back to what I was saying before. So we got Terry, but that didn't matter, because whether you were for him or you were against him, it didn't matter, because right after they revealed Terry, they did the same exact thing. This whole entire thing started out with me talking about, they revealed Banjo as so people would, once they revealed Banjo, people were okay with Hero. Same thing happened here. They revealed Terry, but they revealed something that made everyone universally happy and made people not have any problems with Terry anymore. They announced that even more DLC was on the way, beyond the Fighters Pass. Now, we don't know if it's going to be another straight-up Fighters Pass, like Fighters Pass 2 or Season 2, and there'll be another 5 characters, another 5 stages, all that stuff, or if it'll be individually sold like Piranha Plant was, or whatever. But the point is, more DLC was coming, and especially based on Sakurai's most recent interviews, it sounds like he is fully committed to just working on this game basically forever. And it sounds like that this game is going to have a very long life ahead of it. In fact, there's a very real possibility we'll cross 100 characters. As of right now, we have 81 characters. 82 if you count the 5th character that hasn't been announced yet. There's a very real chance we'll reach the 100 mark. I think it's totally possible. I think there's a very real chance they'll do a Fighter Pass every year for the remainder of the Switch's life cycle. It sound like, one, that would make Nintendo a crap ton of money. It would make us, the fans, happy, and Sakurai wants to do more DLC. There's literally no reason to not just keep running this game for as long as possible. Make it the best game it could possibly be. And make this game truly be ultimate. Because they have been doing a great job, and I think that obviously... And we want more. We all want to see more. So... But I guess the bottom line is, we got more DLC coming, so people didn't mind Terry anymore. Because the only reason why people didn't like Terry was because he, quote, took up a slot from someone else. But now, there's infinite amount of slots, basically, and we can get as many characters as we want, so now people don't have a problem with Terry anymore. And even if the last character in the Fighter Pass is Ryu, even though I don't think he will be. And by the way, when I say Ryu, I'm of course not talking about Ryu from Street Fighter that's already in the game. I'm talking about Ryu from Ninja Gaiden, who was the rumored character. Even if he got in, I think people would be okay with it because, hey, we got more DLC still, so who cares if we get Ryu? But I'd actually be all for Ryu though. Like I'd actually be totally up for Ryu. There'd be some cool music too if we get alongside him. Plus, he's one of the last NES icons that isn't in the game already. You know, we got Mega Man, we got Pac-Man, we got we got Simon, and of course we have Mario and Zelda and all that stuff. But we don't have Ninja Gaiden yet. Ninja Gaiden's probably the last big NES franchise that's not in Smash yet. But anyway, so yeah, more DLC announced. That single-handedly made everyone happy, and that's all that matters. That's all that matters. But wait, there's more. So after the direct ended, they started. Did like a presentation, like how they did the hero presentation, where Sakurai was there and he was playing the game and stuff. Yeah, they did another one of those, but for Banjo. And during it, they of course they talked about. They showed off the stage. They showed off all the music tracks. His entire moveset, all that. Then they revealed the Mii costumes. And at first it started out with, we had Goemon from, I can't remember the name, but I know who Goemon is. I'm actually kind of surprised they haven't done that Mii costume yet. We got 2 Mega Man costumes that were in Smash Wii U, but weren't in Ultimate yet, so we got that, so that's cool. And then we got a Team Rocket skin, which actually kind of lines up well with the fact that, Team Rocket is like an event in Pokemon Go now, so it kind of almost lines up too well. But so yeah, that's cool. And then came the event that changed the world forever, and completely overshadowed both Terry and the addition of more DLC. This event was the biggest event of the entire Direct, and people were talking about it for the longest time, and they're still talking about it. And of course, you all know what I'm talking about. The unthinkable happened. Well, another one of those impossible events actually occurred. Because it happened. Sans from Undertale was in the game. As a Mii Fighter costume. But it didn't matter. That's the weird thing, is that normally people see Mii Fighter costumes as kind of like a consolation prize, in the same way that they see assist trophies, where like, oh, you weren't big enough or relevant enough or whatever enough to get in the game, but we'll give you this, so like, you're still kind of in the game. Like that's what people see Mii costumes as, even though I think that's kind of unfair, but that's what people see them as. But people didn't mind for a couple of reasons. One, no one thought he would ever get in the game, for real, so the fact that he's in the game at all was really exciting. Second, Megalovania was included. This is the first time that a Mii costume has included music tracks. That is another reason why people are super hyped, because now we could hear Megalovania in Smash. Megalovania is in Smash. And for those of you who don't know, Megalovania was actually originally made for an Earthbound ROM hack that Toby made back in the day. So basically, a hacked Earthbound song is now in Smash. That is awesome. So, oh, and another thing that makes the Mii costume a lot more hype than it would otherwise would have been, the Mii costume doesn't look like a Mii costume. It's not just a Sans hat. No, it's literally a Sans costume. He looks like Sans. He doesn't look like a Mii wearing a Sans costume. He's literally Sans. He is literally Sans. You are literally playing as Sans when you put on that costume. So basically, yeah, that just absolutely killed everyone, and it overshadowed everything else in the Direct, including Terry. Because let's be real here, even if Terry wasn't the character that people wanted to see, it's still a new Smash character, and there was hype. There was, especially after confirmation that more DLC was on the way. People actually started to get kind of hyped for Terry, because hey, now that we know he's not taking up a slot from someone else, now we can be excited for him, or whatever, you know, because that's just how people work. But even the reveal of a new character and additional DLC was nothing in comparison to the Sans Mii Fighter costume. And that kind of pointed out something that's kind of interesting. I mean, nothing against Terry, but just seeing the response to the Sans Mii Fighter costume, it's blatantly apparent that Sans should have been the fourth character and Terry should have been the Mii Fighter costume. Because if people can get this excited and hyped over a Mii costume, over a brand new actual character, then that says something. But again, nothing against Terry, and and obviously, I welcome everyone to Smash pretty much. Because here's the glorious thing for me when it comes to Smash: I don't really have that much of a horse in the race of what characters get in. I mean, yeah, there's obviously characters I prefer over others, but there's not a character that I personally want to see get in. There's not a character that I'm constantly hoping to see. For me, it's just kind of going along for the ride and just seeing what we get. And personally, Joker's been my favorite of the DLC characters so far. But yeah, everyone's got their preferences. And I know there's a lot of people that are excited for Terry, especially in South America. Apparently, SNK is actually really big in Latin and South America. So yeah, props to you guys. And I definitely hope that in the same, one of the things I love about Smash is how Smash can push a franchise to new heights. Look at Fire Emblem, look at Xenoblade. Those franchises are way bigger now than they were back then because of Smash. And there's other franchises that have just gotten more popular and more recognized because of it. And that's one of the reasons why I think it's actually totally cool that we see Hero and Terry and these other characters that, while they're maybe popular in other parts of the world, aren't really popular here, because it'll get people here interested in those characters and wanting to check them out. I know tons of people I've seen on Twitter that are actually really excited to play Dragon Quest XI Definitive Edition when it comes out in a couple days. Why? Because of Smash. I've seen people that are interested in SNK. Why? Because of Smash. And this is one of the reasons why I think it's that's one of the reasons, yeah. I'm stuttering right now, but yeah, that's one of the big cool things about Smash is it can push a franchise to new heights it has never seen before. And gets people interested, which is pretty cool. Seeing people exposed to more and more series they can try out. But, okay, so I think I've gone on for long enough. So, yeah, so all that Marvel stuff and Smash DLC. Oh, and the Xenoblade remake, that's pretty cool. I feel like the Xenoblade remake reveal was really underappreciated, because that's a big deal. The original game, from a visual perspective, has not aged well, at least in my opinion. It's very blocky and everything, but then again, it's a Wii game, right? I mean, the Wii games aren't the N64, but it's obvious that the Wii original had definitely needed a remake. And also, Xenoblade is infamously expensive because of, well, if you know the history of Xenoblade and how it came to the US, then you'll understand why it's so expensive. It was a limited release, only in GameStop and everything, and the only readily accessible way to play it now is on the new 3DS. And everything, but yeah, so yeah, a remake, that's really cool, especially as Xenoblade's popularity now is way bigger than it was back in 2012 when Xenoblade first came out in the US. So yeah, but I still feel like not enough people were excited for it. But here's something I don't understand: why are they calling it Xenoblade Definitive Edition? Because that makes it sound like that makes it sound like it's a port. But it's not a port, it's a remake. I don't know why they didn't just call it a remake, or at least call it like Xenoblade Chronicles, I don't know, what's a good word? I don't know a good word, but yeah, just like, it's a remake! That's what it is! It's a Xenoblade 1 remake, and they're not calling it that for some reason. If Final Fantasy VII Remake can be called Final Fantasy VII Remake officially, why couldn't they have just done that for Xenoblade? I don't know. Maybe they just couldn't. Maybe they couldn't think of a name. They didn't want to call it Xenoblade Chronicles HD, because if they call it Xenoblade Chronicles HD, that makes it sound like it's the original game, but just in HD. Whereas this is a full-on remake. But yeah, who knows? But so yeah, that's everything that has happened up to this point. There's a lot of stuff I've talked about, and I know it wasn't the most coherent. I got off topic and I stuttered a lot, but that's just kind of how it is. And yeah, but so yeah, that's everything that's happened so far. And yeah, I guess before we leave here, I want to talk a little bit about kind of my plans for these channels and everything. I made a post about this already on the main channel, and oh yeah, actually, no, let's start over a little bit. Okay. Last month, I officially crossed 1,000 subscribers, so that's pretty awesome. And I was actually gonna do an entire video that was going through the history of the channel, but eventually I decided to scrap it. But I do have plans, some big changes actually. So, as you can probably tell by the fact that this video is being uploaded on this channel, all the discussion videos, no matter what the topic, are going to be on this channel. Also, any easy to make videos that don't require much time to edit and stuff, unboxings, and of course the discussions and stuff like that will be on this channel. And then the real, more proper videos, such as my what veterans I want to see in Smash Switch video that had transitions and all that stuff, that'll be on the main channel. But the simpler content like this will be on this channel, as well as all the archive, all the highlights for streams and stuff. But the streams themselves will still be on the main channel, but the highlights will be on this channel. And there's even more stuff I have planned that I haven't talked about yet, but it's still in the early planning stages, and I don't want to promise anything that I won't deliver on. So yeah, that's everything. I know this video went on for a long time and it wasn't all that great, well, I didn't talk all that well, but yeah, it's been a while since I've done one of these though, so I'm kind of out of it, but hopefully things will get better over time. So yeah, hope you are looking forward to the future of me on YouTube, and yeah, so this is Logan589XP, and I'll see you guys next time.